On top of just being a downright badass title, this film follows Lou, a woman who works at a gym, a day-to-day life that quickly gets interrupted by this new face that is Jackie, a bodybuilder aspiring to be the best physically possible. And when the two come together because of the intimacy, the beauty that both share for one another, their lives quickly go on a path and a trajectory that neither can predict where it's going to lead or the life-threatening situations they are going to find themselves in. This has been a movie on my radar for quite some time, with A24's acquiring of the film, the cast, and the director with Rose Glass, who admittedly I did not dive into her directorial debut that came out in 2019 with Saint Maud, and that really was the first steps for me to realize, holy shit, Love Lies Bleeding could be amazing. Because if you've never seen Saint Maud, it is a heavily slept on film, which exhibits a level of power in the direction and the prowess in how it is made that does not feel like a debut. The technical elements in that film is what made me so excited to see what this is like as a sophomore effort, because honestly speaking, you don't know a filmmaker exists until they've done their debut. But it's, for me, the second and third films in a filmmaker's career that has me the most intrigued, because that's where you start to really play with the strengths that you find in your first film. In that first outing, you realize what makes you tick, what you love doing, reaffirm stuff, makes you learn new things. And I will say, compared to her first film, this feels like an entirely different machine. This is a beating film from beginning to end, whose pulse just continually gets more and more adrenaline filled. It is coked out with steroids, with neon lights, and a sound design and score I could not believe. This movie floored me from beginning to end, from the opening shot that puts you exactly where you're going to want to be for the journey this film is going to catalyze you on. And I think above all else, the general takeaway for me is that queer cinema has never been in a better place than now, where a lot of films talk about queerness in its innate sense of a world around these characters in movies often being the forefront of the queerness, where now it is queerness with added flavorings of it being like a high school story in Bottoms or a kind of like road trip movie in Drive-Away Dolls, and now with Love Lies Bleeding being that sort of race against time, forbidden love in the midst of this like neo-noir western tale. And it is absolutely incredible. The two leads in this film, Kristen Stewart at this point has nothing to prove. She has grown out of the confines and shell of her Twilight days and solidified herself as a very soft, tender, yet ferocious voice in the industry. She might not be the first person that comes to mind when you think of incredible actors, but she's always there. She's always giving every performance she does 110. And her role in this, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was watching and I thought to myself, wait a minute, I don't really know if I'm vibing very much with Kristen Stewart. But you realize through the evolution of the plot and the narrative who her character is, the secrets that she hides, and the situation that she and Jackie find herselves in really makes that character grow in ways that she does not want to. And that level of nuance could only be attributed to a veteran actor like Stewart, which is made twofold better by Katie O'Brien, who I had never seen before. And it isn't just her physicality that makes her sell this role, but it's in fact the person that she's the complete opposite of, that her physical body makes represented. Because you see this woman who strives to be the best that she can in the best physical shape possible, but on top of being in love with a woman and the things that are thrusted onto her, this fish out of water story, if you will, you see these insecurities, these emotional sides of both of these characters, one through detachment and the emotion within, and the other through the physicality and who's within that. And that's how they come together, and the narrative opens itself up. It is crazy. I don't think many people understand what that takes for a second feature debut to really jump onto the screen in a completely different tone vibe and atmosphere while kind of synthesizing with the first film that Rose Glass directs, because technically speaking, both films have sound design and a score that will leave that taste in your mouth of the residual things that the movie has done. And this film's sound design at times makes your heart pound, at moments it makes you wince, because there is some gore and blood in scenes with the edit in mind that I could not begin to articulate just how intense and committed this film gets. And as I said earlier, that opening shot could not tell you any more than what kind of story is about to unfold. This film uses this dream-like ethereal nature with the visuals and the score to tell a tale about love against all odds, and I think that's where maybe you will be lost in this film, because it doesn't portray this story in an atypical fashion, but uses visuals and the technical elements to tell a story that you've never seen this way done. And it does not hesitate to go even further as the plots evolve. When that third act kicks in, those last 20 minutes, I could understand if it loses you entirely, but for me, it just locked in a feeling on top of many emotions that I was going along the movie with, and it commits to every single bit. And just sitting in a theater watching this on the big screen, a just technical marvel of a movie that I loved every second of, and I never questioned the queerness because it felt so real, so honest, and the fact that I could see it on the big screen, and having had seen Bottoms or Driveway Dolls just very recently as well, and all the queer pieces of cinema that have come out in 2023 and this year, it just filled me up with a level of optimism and hope that so many voices that would not have been represented or been able to speak years ago are now finally getting that spotlight. I can understand if you were not vibing with this movie, but the fact alone that this exists on the budget and level and ideas that it portrays is worthy of the discussion alone. And let alone the fact that I think this movie is almost like near perfect. I have minor gripes, little issues here and there. The Ed Harris character, who I'm not going to spoil the relation he has with Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien's character, because I didn't know going in, and it was a surprise. I just wish a certain dynamic in this movie was explored a bit more. But as I even sit on this movie, I wouldn't even use that as a flaw, because the way that all I will say is trauma and the hurt that these characters share and the way it's expressed visually in this movie is very creatively unique. That doesn't serve to give answers as more it does to give you an experience. It's funny because as I think about this movie as well, I feel the big takeaway as well for me is that this movie does not take the safe routes, the safe opportunities to tell a story about new people coming together of the same sex and falling in love, the world around them refusing that. No, this movie takes so many different turns that I, on paper, do not think should work. But the commitment, the way that every element in this film comes together, the performances, the cinematography, the score, it does not feel like what you would think it would be going in, but it is executed to perfection. Again, I was head over heels for Love Lies Bleeding. The title alone should get your butt in the seat, and it's an A24 film. If for anything that I've been able to articulate to you in this video gets your intrigue piqued, go support this movie more than anything, because of course I'm gonna give this movie a solid A. I loved Love Lies Bleeding. It was an experience and a film that is so worthy of discussion. It is being heavily cited as kind of inspiration from Bound, which to me is one of my all-time favorite movies, and queer cinema unique storytelling is going hand in hand in a way that I'm so excited and intrigued to see go down the line. But of course, my question needs to be handed off to you. What did you think of Love Lies Bleeding? What is some of your favorite queer cinema? Because for me, I'm always looking for new stories to ingest, to learn, to dissect different perspectives, because that's just what I love to do, especially in the realm of queerness. I think there are so many opportunities to tell and interweave themes of queer identity in narratives, and Love Lies Bleeding signifies to be some of the weirdest, yet some of the most rewarding possible. So comment below. As always, don't forget to like, So